What's going on, Warriors? It's Coach Jay. Listen, in this video, we're going to dive right in. If you are struggling to gain weight, you are struggling to build muscle as a type 1 diabetic, we're going to dive in. I'm going to explain to you mistakes you might be making and what to do in order to help you start to gain weight, help you start to build muscle. Listen, if it's your first time on the channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below, hit that bell notification so you guys don't miss out, and hit that like button down below. As you know, I help diabetics to build muscle, to burn fat, and manage their blood sugars overall, but I also do supplement reviews. So if you guys like supplement reviews, you guys like reviews in general, I also throw that in on this channel too. So if any of that sounds good, make sure you guys smash that subscribe button too, hit that bell notification, and smash that like button. Let's dive into this one. Your calories are just way too low. If your calories are way too low, calories in, calories out, you guys have to understand, you need to put yourself in a calorie surplus. If you're in a caloric surplus, this means that you're taking more calories in than your maintenance calories. I recommend starting off by 500 calories above your maintenance. You go 500 calories above your maintenance, then you guys are good to go. Good starting point right there. Now, the second thing that you have to focus on, again, calories come from the food that we eat. So calories are the body's energy budget. Now remember, if you're not taking in calories, then you have a hard time. And I know I talk about this stuff a lot, but it's important to dive in again. If you're not taking in enough calories from the food that you eat, your body is not going to gain weight. Now, the other thing I want to say is carbohydrates. Now, a lot of times, as a result of avoidance mechanisms, you might be told to lower your carbohydrate amount. Get more confident on your insulin to carb ratios to allow you to start to increase your carbohydrates. The reason why you want to increase your carbohydrates is because this also increases insulin. When you increase insulin, this is your weight gaining hormone. A lot of people are very low on insulin, so it makes it hard for them to gain weight. Sometimes at some meals, I'm having 36 units of insulin at one meal. Now, I'm not telling you to do that, but what I'm saying is take note of how much insulin you're taking in throughout the day and see if you can increase that slightly. So for example, if you normally have 100 grams of carbohydrates, maybe try to go and get 125 on one day, then maybe 150 on another day, and see over the week how much that helps you to gain weight. Now, this might require you to start to track so you actually know how much carbohydrates you're taking in. Track your carbs and track your insulin, because then it'll show you how much insulin, how much boluses you're actually taking in the day. If you're on an insulin pump, then it'll let you know. But I would recommend, if you're not on an insulin pump and you're taking shots, then you want to go and you want to write down how much insulin you are taking in the day. Almost like a self-assessment. Look at yourself and see what you're currently doing so you can adjust it. So after you, let's say you track for about 2-3 days. Track for 2 to 3 days, see how much insulin you're actually taking, and then try to increase that slightly. So what I would do is, if somebody's only taking 20 units of insulin a day, I would say, let's see what we can do here to increase that insulin by 5 units or by 10 units by the end of the day. Now, another thing that you can do is just increase the carbohydrates, because as you increase carbohydrates, you're typically going to increase insulin as well. So you can also track those carbohydrates. If you're someone who has 100 grams of carbohydrates, try to aim to hit 150 grams of carbohydrates, because that's naturally going to increase insulin too. So you put these things together, now all of a sudden a person who is not consuming enough insulin has tracked what they're doing. They know that their insulin levels are a certain amount. Now what they can do is make those adjustments to increase insulin and also increase carbohydrates, and they will start to gain weight. Now, the third thing, which is probably the most important thing, is as a type 1 diabetic, you want to make sure that you guys are checking your blood sugar levels. Now, if your blood sugar levels are all over the place, it's going to be a lot harder for us to gain weight. Why? Because the body breaks down muscle tissue when you're too high, and it breaks down muscle tissue when you're too low. So you got to first control those areas so that you feel confident your body actually has the capability. It's not overly stressed, and there's not as much inflammation in the body preventing you from being able to build muscle. Now, I got a couple links down below that'll help you in terms of insulin to carb ratio if you need help with that. And I'm also going to leave a little document that you guys can click in here that'll help you to understand things like your correction ratio, your basal ratio, and your insulin to carb ratio. So I'll leave that as a PDF down below. It's very simple. It's actually going towards a book that I'm making for type 1 diabetics. But what I'm going to do is just a little excerpt of it. It's a little rough, but it'll help you guys out in terms of getting a better idea of tests you can run to improve your basal rate, your insulin to carb ratio, and also your correction ratio if you're having trouble with that. But once you do that, this will give you more confidence for you guys to move forward and be able to start to gain weight and put on muscle. Now, as a bonus, another important thing is obviously making sure you're on the right strength training program that's focused on bodybuilding. A lot of people end up focusing on things like powerlifting and strength, and they're neglecting really the bodybuilding aspect of it. Bodybuilding is really about how much muscle can I develop throughout my entire body. Powerlifting, it says, how much weight can I lift? We are more concerned with building muscle. The more muscle we have on board, the more you're gonna fill out. Well, this is something that's also underlooked, and that's water. Your body holds on to water. The more carbohydrates you guys are gonna take in, the more water is gonna be held in your body's muscle cells as well. So that's gonna help you to fill out. That's gonna help you to gain weight. For every gram of carbohydrate that gets broken down into glucose, and glucose gets stored as glycogen in your muscle cells, your body is also gonna hold on to 3 grams of water. So you wanna make sure that you're increasing your carbohydrate intake so you can also increase how much water you're storing, which can help you to gain weight as well. But again, as diabetics, now we have that issue because one, we don't have enough carbohydrates on board to trigger enough insulin on board to gain weight. Now we're not shuttling enough carbohydrates in the form of glycogen, which is stored glucose in our muscle cells, into our body's muscle cells. Now what ends up happening too is your body is not gonna hold on to enough water either to gain weight. So now we got this trifecta of shit that is just not helping you to gain weight. So we gotta look at these things in a way that's really geared towards you building muscle, geared towards you gaining weight. Otherwise, you're gonna be caught in a vicious cycle that sees you running around in a circle and never quite being able to gain the weight you want or build the muscle that you want.